So when we look for a new player, the most important thing I think is pretty much kind of things outside of the game itself. So I think just teamwork, chemistry, what kind of personality he is, how hard he works. Those are more important than his or her current skill at that moment.
For us, we put a lot of emphasis on attitude and mentality. It's really important that if we pick up a player, we feel like they're going to be a good fit for our team. They're going to fit in with the players, with the staff, and they're going to kind of contribute to the environment that we're looking to build.
You need a lot of work ethic to be able to be a professional player, and I think mental is kind of really important. When you reach that level, Overwatch League level, or even some of the top team in contenders level, everybody has the same level, the same skills. So it's in the head. So after, it's just a question of mental. So basically, yeah.
We actually, most important thing for our team is the mechanic, right? Like he have a high skill level, or he has a knowledge of the game or something, because our coaches are really good, have a knowledge of the game, and we try to build about the communication skill a lot. So if we don't have that kind of skill, we can make him like a communication or get the knowledge of the game. So we only looking for the mechanic thing. If he's enough mechanic, we can actually build up the rest of them. So it's gonna be fine for it.
And game sense also is really important. So I would say that the thing that I'm looking after the most is game sense, because it's something you have or you don't. You can develop decision making, but real game sense and adapting the situation, it's something really difficult to find in a player.
I think it's about figuring out where your holes are in your team and where you have like room to grow and how long-term the position are. We try to, like, at least from my POV, we look at individual skills like one of the highest things, because we think teamwork can be taught. Like hydration, for example, had like a ton of individual skill, and it was very clear going in pre Owl season 1, right? But his communication wasn't quite there. Like we joke that he's actually one of our best calmers now. Like he's calling dives on Sombra and whatever it may be. Like he's doing a really good job. But when we first got him, he said like one word in like 4 maps of scrimmage, and we're like, oh, hydrate, your mic's muted? No, he's like, no.
Yeah, I think both can be a source of motivation. If you're from Overwatch League and you trade, you want to show to everyone that your team made a bad decision to trade you. So, and you have experience, so also it will help you to adapt and to be ready for this most of the time.
They're kind of like more up to date on like how the meta went, especially if you were playing contenders. You were always playing on a different patch. You sometimes looked at OWL, but sometimes you would skip that patch. So you have like a more consistent base of knowledge. You're like, oh, okay, it's like playoffs meta, right? Like we like talk about that with me and Shaz and Goose from last year, but like other people don't necessarily know that exact phrasing or like the exact logic behind it. So I think that sometimes comes into hand, but that's like a short-term problem, and you can usually explain it. It's just sometimes there's like random knowledge accrued from just being an OWL that you can't quite get from being outside of OWL.
I think it really depends also on that player's experience in the league. We, I think, would value more signing players who come from difficult teams where they've gone through a lot of difficult situations. Maybe they struggled a lot as an individual, and their team struggled a lot in their experience in the league.
When you recruit a player for contenders or like a free agent player, he will be motivated to show to the world what he got, but maybe have a lack of experience. But some of contenders players already made a lot of LAN and a lot of events and are ready for this, and they kind of really motivated to show to the world that even good contenders players have Overwatch League level.
In a team with like so many like talents, it's important to like balance everything out. So not just just because you have the best starting 6 doesn't mean you have the best team.
It's not all about just playing together in game. It's about team chemistry and team synergy and relationships, and those things come from not only the game itself, but from conversations outside of the game, VOD reviews, discussions.
Yeah, I think that's just a coaching problem in general. Like whether they're mechanically skilled or not, just getting a team environment that works is like really hard, especially when you pick across the globe for talent. We have Europeans, Koreans, Americans, like Canadians. We have people from all over the world, and so it is hard to make a cohesive unit out of that just because of language barrier and stuff like that. But that's like an ever-present problem, I think, and that's like time spent together. We're figuring things out.
Obviously, as coaches, we try to focus a lot on communication, helping players understand that this is a team game, and they need to understand that the perspective, kind of the overall team perspective comes before their perspective.
We coach every single time, communication, a lot of things together, and we try to make a goal for the player. If they know the player about which goal they can reach about the winning, they try to follow on that way, so they adapt about the more curricular than just only the believe in the mechanic things.
In the game like Overwatch, was really fast and where everything happened really fast and everybody needs to be on the same page. So you want to develop communication and game sense, or at least decision making, because players will develop his own game sense by playing and playing. You will learn from it, but you want them to take a good decision at a good moment, and this decision making is really important in order to have a good synergy between everyone.
A lot of, like, we look at changes and like, oh, is this similar to this, like from the last meta or anything like that? Do we just evolve back into like 2-2-2 or something like that? We just like try to, it's weird because it is like random guesses, I would say, for the most part, but they're educated guesses because we're like, oh, if we go back to this, you can just do this, and it's random accrued knowledge. So I think it's actually really useful that we were in OWL Season 1 because we get to see like why things work the way they do, because it just really is helpful.
It's very hard to predict. It really comes from trial and error. We like to include the players in that process as much as we can. You know, this is a game where it's really important for your players to be able to think critically on their own, understand compositions, understand heroes, strengths, weaknesses. You know, what do we need to play against this comp on this map? So we like to include them as much as we can, and really, and their input is obviously really valuable too, because they're in the game themselves. You know, they're intelligent, they've made it to this level. So we like to kind of discuss it as much as we can, think critically about it. I think we're more kind of along the lines of one of the more experimental teams, where we're more willing to try things a little bit rather than saying we're going to play goats, and if this team beats us enough, then we'll say, okay, your comp's better, and we'll start playing it.
So we try to using some weird comp in the stream, and we're looking for some picture about the game, like how they play and how the enemy react about that. So we gathering about the information, and we think about this strategy is good for us, we adopt it, or if it's not good for us, we not give up for not using it. And stage 2 also same thing happen. We're looking for a new hero, and new hero looks so good for us, and we try to using the one in the stream, and we try to do internal and try to gather information, and we're trying hard about the hero, and if it's working, looks like we're gonna try in the match.
Like right now, like when the meta is just starting, I think, you know, I'm not sure about other teams, but you know, what I've seen is, you know, we try to find what we're good at first. Like, you know, even though when we scrim, other teams might play this comp A, but then if we feel like we're better at comp B, then we'll go with comp B, not follow the trend or anything like that. So yeah, important thing is finding out what you're good at, what your team is actually good at. Actually,
you will only know if something works or not just by trying it in scrims against top teams, and you will learn from those scrims, and we will adapt things in order to have something more stable.
Well, obviously we're good at goats, so I want to see more goats. But you know, other than that, I mean, we are good at goats, but it's not like we're bad at other comps. So I mean, I think we're pretty prepared for any meta that will come. We have a lot of players who are really flexible and really, you know, they are flexible and they're really good at all those heroes. They're not just like okay in some heroes. They're actually good at all the heroes that they're supposed to play. So yeah, I think we're really well prepared for whatever meta that comes. The roster we have right now, and yeah, we'll just try our best to get better every day.
every time I coach team, I want to play on our strength, and dictate our game, dictate our tempo. And goats is tank meta is not maybe better for my team right now. So if goats go away, I won't be sad. I think if we have to play it, we will. But if we have the possibility to play on our strength, our player strength, we will do it as well.
From a viewer perspective, I don't think it's healthy for the game. As a coach, I think there's kind of pros and cons to it. I have enjoyed coaching it. I think it's kind of an interesting comp to coach and to think about. But I think it's gotten to the point where there's not a lot of creativity left in terms of kind of improving it. And I think, from my perspective as a coach, I'd much rather kind of start with new metas, be able to think about new compositions, new heroes, new maps. I think that's a lot more exciting for the players, for the coaches, but also for the viewers, and in general, it's just more healthy for the league.
I think it's weird, like, people who call for like 2-2-2 enforced role Q and L, because I think that's bad. I think there's a lot of different like flavors you can bring out as long as one isn't dominant, but that is where balancing is hard, and I obviously know it's like very difficult to balance the game. There's no straightforward way to do it, but I would like kind of like just different comps to be used in different situations, for there to be flavor comps. Right now, like, should goats be used on Eichenwald second, where there's such a big high ground, right? And there's a bridge with boopable things. Like, that doesn't make sense logically for goats, but you end up on that because, like, maybe you want to be goats on first point for the transition. So sometimes things are really delicate for balance, and small things change a lot. And sometimes small things don't change enough. So I wanted to be more diverse and like have less restriction, because I think, look at what Shanghai run. It was like interesting, confusing. You get to run different flavors, and I think it makes it a little fun. You get to like think more as players, think more as coaches. You're put more on the spot, and then you can like devolve to like skill, cheese, like these different matchups that you can develop a style and really like entertain the fans more, I think, too. Because anytime there's 2-2-2, I think there's going to be a strongest 2-2-2 and probably not like a lot of flavor. So I'm not on the boat of like, let's just get rid of goats. I think it's a healthy option. It just needs to be among other healthy options.